shipmates, let me back! Ha ha! It's me, Captain Luke and Silly. Ha ha! Back for lesson number 16. Ha ha! 16! Oh my goodness! Ha ha! I'd be right. We're back for some more. Maybe we should start with some revision. I mean, it's been more than fingers can count. Toes. Oh, you got a peg leg. That's all your fingers and all your toes and your peg. 16! Ha ha! Crazy! Ha ha! Right, now, let me do some revision. What are we going to remember? Can you remember how to go arr? Come on, I think some of you at the back forgot to go oi oi captain. Let me hear it now. Oi oi captain. That's good. Oi oi captain. Right, now, give me an R. R. Give me another R. R. Put them all together and they spell, you guessed it, R. Good job. Right, now, how do we stand like a pirate? Right, remember your legs are apart. We're on a ship. We're rocking with the ship. That's right. Now close together. Close together. You tip over. Your legs are apart, so you're going with the waves. All right, your feet are hanging onto the deck there. Right, yeah, that's it. You got it. And your hands on your hips. Your head's in the air, and you laugh proud. Ha ha ha! That'd be right. That was good. Give yourself a that'd be good. Right now, port and starboard. You got this. I reckon you just about memorise this by now. Your port is your left. Even if you didn't know your left and right, now you know your port and your starboard. You can learn your left and right backwards from that. That's your port, all right? That's your starboard. Remember, same as this ship here, right? Same as the old Beatrice. We're in the harbour here. Over that side's the port. The port's the side you load on. Starboard was where the steering started, on the steering mechanism. When you had the old tiller there at the back on the old ones, that's where it was on the side of the ship. The old Viking ships, because lots of stuff come from the Vikings, you know. Original pirates, almost. All right, and remember, up the front, you got the bow, all right, or the fore. That's why you call it the foremast and foresails, fore topsails and stuff like that, right? And the aft, or the stern, all right, because it's stern. It's got a stern face at the back. All right, that's the back. All right then, that's good. Talking about Vikings, ahoy! You know, we said ahoy, and you hear that, ahoy there. It's like a greeting, isn't it? Say hello, all right? But that was a Viking word originally, right? It was a battle cry. When they yelled ahoy, that meant they were coming over the side to slit your asunder and stuff like that, all right? It got a bit, softer over the time, but that's how it was. Ahoy, that's where it comes from. See, you learn something every day. Some days you learn 2 things. Other days you probably sleep through most of the morning and you think, oh, I won't bother this afternoon. But right now, we're learning because we are here at Pirate School. Give me an R! You're checking you're on your toes. All right, now, what are we talking about? We're talking about the business of pirating. And the articles, right? Because basically, pirating is a business endeavour, right? Not sailing on the endeavour, we're a business endeavour, right? We're here. You got problems with the old patch again? Here we go. We're here, right, to make money. And we all want to make money. Everybody is a pirate. That's why we sign up to make money, right? We're doing it together. Okay? So to do this, we had a few regulations, right? So we'd all do that kind of stuff. We were a bit of a democracy, right? All our decisions were made together, so we voted on everything. And we had these things, these sort of regular rules that we all agreed to, right? So you'd sign up to the articles, right? The articles, right? We made our decisions so it was benefit us all, right? Where it's like, for economists, those studies, students of economists out there, right? Okay, it was a bit like the invisible hook. We were off there for our needs and wants, right? So everybody would benefit. We'd make those choices and we'd vote on everything, right? And so we'd do that and we'd sign the articles. And the articles are our rules. And basically, there were mostly 10 basic rules you would do, right? And you'd follow those. And if you didn't, you were punished by marooning or worse than that. Remember, marooning is where we put you on an island and we sail off and you stay there. All right, you're stuck. All right, so that's what you have, like that kind of stuff. And so what were they? Well, rule 1 was that equal vote, right? Everybody had a vote. Equal, everybody's vote was worth the same thing. Captain didn't get an extra vote, all got an equal vote. And you all got equal food, right? And basically an equal share of the loot. Except that, a couple of special occasions. The captain would get 2 shares, right? And the quartermaster and the sailing master, they get a share and a half. right, each, because of the extra responsibilities they had, right? And that's the benefit. Otherwise, why would you be captain when you didn't get the same thing otherwise, and making all the choices and all that sort of stuff, you know, making all the decisions and plans that have to get approved all the time, bit of pain in the butt, really, you know. So, you know, what we do, right, is you get that little extra bonus there by being captain, and you get to be in charge, right? And, you know, some of us like to be in charge, what can I say? But basically, it was one vote, one person, right? Very fair, right? And rule 2 was, if anybody, right, took more than their fair share, that was it. That was a really bad crime, and you'd be marooned for sure. They'd just leave you on the island. There you go, you're marooned, right? Rule number 3 was no cards or dice on board the ship, right? We didn't let you play cards and dice. You could sing, you could all sorts of things like that, but we didn't want no gambling on ship, right? Because that starts fighting in the oil. You know, imagine if you were one of the crew, you got your equal share, right? You got your equal share, and you're enjoying yourself, and then you go off, had a few drinks, right? And a bit of party going on. You say, hey, well, I'll do a bit of gambling. End of the ship, you've got no money. That guy over there's got all the money. You're not going to be friendly with him, right? In fact, you might not even defend him and help him out next time he's in danger, right? Because you think, well, if he's gone, I'll get his share. Then he'll come back into the pool and all that sort of stuff, right? So we'll do that, you know. Other thing about us pirates, right, is not only do we have this, right, with the lists of all the rules, we had a list of compensations, right, if you were injured, right? There was a rate that would work out at the beginning of a cruise, right? How much you get paid if you lose your arm, you've got a hook and all that sort of stuff, right? You get through that. Or your leg, or if you're totally incapacitated. And so all these little things, like you had their own like insurance scheme, right? So if you were injured, you would receive a payment for that injury, right, to cover you, because you couldn't make as much money pirating as you would if you didn't have enough legs and all that sort of stuff, right? So that's how good we were. And even, right, you could share your money with your family and all that. If you passed away on ship, your money would go back to your family, right? So if you had a family back at home, or they would get your share of the treasure, right? It wouldn't just get divided up between us if you had all that kind of stuff. And your family could be like, you know, your family with your wife and your kid and all that sort of stuff. Or it could be if you had a mate there, you've been living with it for a long time, right? They'd still share it equally. If they were living together all that time, they would share that as they were a family unit because they were living together and sharing that time, right? So that was very progressive people, we pirates, you know, very progressive, right? So, now, so no dice, right? Next one was, we've been doing each time. Remember when I blow the whistle, right? It's lights out, right? At 8 p.m., 8 bells, 8 p.m., right? Which is just the end, right, of the dog watch. The end of the second dog watch is 8 p.m., right? When that goes, all your lights and candles down below will go out, right? So people would sleep and all that kind of stuff. That way, you're not got one person up there being annoying and keeping everyone else awake and all that kind of stuff. Everyone gets a decent sleep. And again, you're not grumpy and you're fighting and you're looking after each other and you're your best for pirating, okay? Very civilized race, we pirates, right? All right, now, once you've got the lights, the candles out, next one is pistols and cutlasses, right? Your pistols and cutlasses, right? It was your responsibility to keep them clean and sharp, all right? And, you know, sharp and clean. So you needed to do that, right? And if you weren't ready for a fight at any time because your weapons weren't properly looked after, you'd be in big trouble. You'd be punished somehow, right? Probably clean out the bilge for that one, right? You know, down the bottom there where you crouch down and pumping out water and scraping it off and all that sort of stuff. Terrible job cleaning out the bilge. Stinks like all heaven. All right, now. All right, the next one was that no man could actually bring a woman as a companion onto the ship, right? We'd have women crew, like Anne Bonny, I told you all about her, right? They could join up and be part of the crew. One for all for one, right? But nobody bring them on if they've surplus the requirements, right? Take up space, cause fights, all that kind of stuff, and they'll see it as bad luck, right? But we used to have women crew come on just to be crew, right? So you can, as long as you hold your own weight, do your job, that's all good, right? So if you want to be signing up, that's fine with me. All right, now, any person who deserts a ship, right? Any person who deserts a ship, this is lesson 7, right? Deserts the ship, right? During battle, bang, marooning, right? Leave you out the island. No worries, you're there, right? And then we also relate, there's no fighting. No fighting on the ship between shipmates, right? Right? You got a dispute, you settle it on land, right? But when we're at sea, all right, we're all together, it's one for all over one. If you want to settle it offside, you get there with your guns and your pistols and all that sort of stuff. You have your jewels, you have it out. But that happens on land, not at sea, right? Again, keeping things harmonious when we're on ship, right? And no person, right, when you sign up, we make it, no person could leave the crew, because you can choose to leave whenever you want, but we made it, no person could leave the crew until we'd shared at least £1,000, right? At least with £1,000 shared, then we're able to, move and renegotiate. But we wait till we got a decent amount of little nest egg before we start dividing up, all right? So everyone got to share a lot of the money, right? That way you didn't sort of run off and get everything if everyone hadn't got all that big share, right? And the final rule, right, rule 10, right, very important rule 10, is that musicians, remember I told you we have the ship's musicians, right, very popular fellas, right? Well, we'd give them Sundays off, right? So that was the rule 10, Sundays off for musicians, because I told you, we're really, really civilised. We follow all these rules, right? Following all these rules meant we get more money for many reasons. One is we had less fights and less conflicts, and we're all working together for the same thing. So if one benefits, we're all for benefits. More pay for more prey. I like that expression. That's what we used to call it, right? And also, it helped with our reputations, right? Because if people, right, the other people, the civilian types and their ships and all that, if they knew we were predictable, that we have a code to work off, right? They knew if they surrendered to us without a fight, right, that we'd look after them. And that'd be it, and they wouldn't mind. So they were more likely to surrender if they knew we were more predictable. If you're wild and crazy kind of guys doing all sorts of random things, well, they're going to feel a bit, if they know they'll be punished if they fight, but be okay if they don't, they're more likely just to surrender and say, pay you a bounty and all that sort of stuff. So that was handy, right? Other thing is we didn't have any slaves, right? No slaves, right? All the black sailors were sailors, members of the crews and all that kind of stuff. Only the races, no slaves, nobody conscripted in, everybody got an equal vote. Because there's no point having people that weren't there to help themselves out, because they were just going to be a negative, right? They'd be looking to get off, they wouldn't be happy, they wouldn't work as hard. But if we're all members, all getting a share, we work hard together, right? That was the way it all worked. No press gangs for us, right? That's how it all is. Everyone would volunteer to join and sign up. Occasionally you might have to convince a sailing master or a doctor or a surgeon or something like that, because we really need their skills, But we can be right persuasive, and eventually they would join on, and everyone knows after a while if they get the profits and share it. It was a good lark to be on, and they'd get in there and do it, right? And eventually they just enjoy going, "Arr!" And then they enjoy going, "Give me another R, Arr!" And then they'd enjoy going, "Put them all together," and they go, "Arr! Arr!" Because, it's good fun. All right, so that's why they do that. So that's how we do it. Equal pay and all that kind of stuff. So that gives you a bit of an idea of how it worked. Amongst the crew, and now we all kept together and worked for the same common good, following the invisible hook. The economist joke there, she'll love that. All right, so I'm thinking of Julie Maslow, the Swedish baker, who said kneading is something you do to bread. Hierarchy of needs, all that sort of stuff. But, I digress into economics. Probably, put small children to sleep, and, old children and middle-aged children and old people and young people and other shipmates and I can fall asleep as well. All right, okay, Scuttlebutt. I'm going to tell you two things now, right? Well, we're talking communication, right? Communication. Economics is all about communications, I'm sure. I don't know, they never communicated that to me. Anyway, Scuttlebutt. You heard of Scuttlebutt, when telling a rumour, what's a Scuttlebutt? You heard that expression? Well, that, again, comes from the ship, all right? Comes from the ship. Scuttlebutt. What scuttle is, right? A scuttle is the hole you put in a ship, right? If you're going to scuttle a ship, you put a hole in underneath. Fills with water and it sinks, right? So the hole they put in is called a scuttle. And a butt, right? A butt is what they call the barrels, right? That we kept the water in on ship, what they call the butts, right? And so a scuttlebutt is the hole they used to have in those barrels, right? That had a plug in it, and you pull the plug out, or you have a little doozy there with a little tappy type set up there, right? That you can turn open and fill up your glass of water and have a drink, right? And so that's where the crew would go to have a drink of water, right? That kind of stuff. And that's where they'd gossip. And a lot of the rumours and stuff on a ship would start around the water barrel. Same as you have that thing now, they talk about the water things in offices and all that, where they do that, whatever you call those little things, water tank things they have in the office now, pretty much based around what we do there with the scuttlebutt. And that's where the scuttlebutt comes from, all right? It's actually the barrels that the water came in on the ships. That's what scuttlebutt was about. And the other one was chewing the fat. You heard about chewing the fat, have you? Let's go out and chew the fat. It's like talk about stuff, they'll sit around and chat for ages, and it's really about talking for a long time and just sharing things and talking. Well, chewing the fat actually comes from, you remember when we did the cooking one, right? Remember we talked about cooking, right? We talked about the fact they used to salt the beef so it'd last forever and ever and ever, basically. Every year's worth of beef there, it's got so hard we could make belt buckles out of it. Remember I told you all about that, right? Oh well, that's what it is, chewing the fat. That stuff would be so hard, right? The sailors would end up chewing it for ages, hours now. They'd be standing around talking to each other, trying to forget how bad it tasted and all that kind of stuff, and I'd be chewing away and I'd be talking. And it looked like, when you mouth's moving when you're chewing all the time, it looks like you're talking anyway. So that's where chewing the fat comes from, right? Like through talking on for ages. So another of those famous expressions that we all sort of know, or we've heard of, or our parents have heard of, or the Auntie Doris has heard of, right? Chewing the fat, and that comes from the sea, all right? So all these things, all these exciting things, come to you from your good mates, the pirates, and we old sailors here on the good ship Beatrice. All right. So I think we'd be coming to the end of our articles one. All right. So next week we're talking episode 17. 17. I've got something lined up to do 17, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. Oh, I know. I'm going to teach you how to fight with a cutlass. Actually, how to do it, what strokes you use, all that kind of stuff. Look, we already had one where we talked about the cutlass, but I'm going to go into more detail on the actual fighting techniques with the cutlass. And I might even, depending on how the time goes, do a little bit of work with you, right? A little bit of work, right? On some naval tactics with actually the ships, how you move around and which you do, But we'll see how that goes with it a bit later on and all that kind of stuff. Just see how the time rides along, right? Because we don't want to go too long with these things or too short. So we'll work it out. We'll see how long the cutlass thing takes, we'll do some slashing and some upcutting and all sorts of stuff like that. So we'll bring out the cutlass, right? Which is just over there. I didn't bring it on today because I thought, it's going to feature next week. So we'll keep it, low key this time. Anyway, that be the story. I think we'd be about finished, right? So I think there's just one more time we could stand there and laugh like a pirate. Are you ready? All right, and you know the lesson, right? Rule number 4 means what? At 8 p.m., all lights are going out and we're time for sleep. But for now, I'm going to pipe us all down anyway, and you can just imagine this is at 8 o'clock, or you can play it just before 8 o'clock if that's when you go to bed. Because it's time, Captain Luke and Silly is telling you, it is time that we went down to the decks there, all right? Down to the main deck there. Are you ready? A virus there, landlubbers. We'll be seeing you next week. Ha 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 ha!